Yeah.
You're going to sequester the word sequester.
Sequesters, everybody knows the word? Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr.
I was just
Postmaster.
zooming in a little bit.
Fellow Postmates. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been working internally to get a promotion, and on Monday, I'm happy to report that Kathy and HR confirmed and announced to the world and MEDC that I will be joining the community assistance team. In my new role as a CAT team specialist, I will be working to package deals. I will be working closely with communities and developers to package deals for local, federal, and state incentives, including tax credits, incentives like community development block grants, and tax credits like brownfields, historic tax credits, new markets tax credits, etc. These are just a few of the many programs I'm supposed to become an expert on. There's a total of 19. I will be geographically assigned to the West region. I brought this handy map, hand around. I will be covering Region 2, and I may be sequestered at any moment to cover any of the 19 counties west of 131. I'm going to hand this around. Feel free to take a look at our brochure for the community assistance team. As a transition into my presentation today, I wanted to just focus in on one of the 19 programs that I feel like I am actually an expert on, and that's brownfields. Talk to you guys a little bit about the brownfield tax credit program at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, one of two agencies that manages brownfield incentives for the state. For my presentation today, I wanted to focus on two topics. One, what is a brownfield? By the time you guys all walk out of this room today, you will be able to identify a brownfield based on 3 factors. The second portion of my presentation, I wanted to focus on the 5 or so types of eligible investment that you can spend money on and ultimately get a 12.5% to 20% brownfield tax credit for. Okay, so there's 2 focuses here to this presentation. And really, I'm just trying to break it down. This will be very simple. We're looking at brownfields for dummies today. Again, those are my 2 bullets that I want to focus on. 1, what are brownfields? And 2, the Michigan Business Tax Credit, the Michigan Business Tax Brownfield Credit. What is a brownfield? Brownfields are somewhat like pornography. You know it when you see it. These are common sites all around Michigan that we have. A couple in Lansing that may be familiar to you are the Chrisman Company building over on Capitol, I believe. The Cedar Street School over by the Temple Club. Annabelle's Pet Station, I think it's off of Washington Square if you're heading towards 496. And the most probably famous downtown Lansing brownfield project is the former Board of Water and Light building. And if you haven't been by there, I encourage you to drive by. It's awesome to see what they're doing over there. They've added an office building directly next to the plant, and they're working on putting the parking structure up now. It's just along the river. It's really awesome. There are 3 ways to qualify a brownfield in Michigan if you're working towards state incentives. The first one is a facility. This is where contamination exceeds residential criteria. The second way is blighted, and this is where you have buildings that have become a nuisance for communities. You know, kids are graffitiing them, and you have squatters, and they just have become qualify as a brownfield for state incentives is to become a functionally obsolete property. And this is, we look to a level 3 or level 4 assessor to make this determination, but ultimately it includes a property that is no longer able to be used for what it was originally intended for. And the Board of Water and Light building is a perfect example of that. We're converting an old utility building to an office building. Just to give you some mental images of what we're talking about, a facility, again, this is where contamination exceeds the residential criteria. This is probably when the first thing you think of is, you have underground storage tanks here that are being pulled up. You have, looks like they're pulling some things out of the stream, and you have signs that say hazardous substances. Facility equals contamination is the bottom line. The Uniroyal site in Detroit is another great example of a brownfield qualifying as a facility. You can see what it used to look like in this top picture here, and what it looks like today after they've cleaned a portion of it up. This is our second qualifier, blighted. This is an example in Detroit where we have a beautiful, big old building, great structure, but a lot of the windows you can see on the top here are broken out. I think there's actually trees growing on the roof. Maybe we have a couple pictures inside here. I think that they actually have people living in here. It's just a sad, that's actually a bad picture with the lighting here, but it's really dilapidated. There's a picture in the winter, I think that's on the roof. This is our third qualifier, functionally obsolete. Again, I mentioned the Board of Water and Light building. I think that was a picture from the original architecture drawings. And then the vacant building we had up until probably about a year ago. The second portion of my presentation, I want to focus on MBT credits. Developers have an opportunity, or I should say qualified taxpayers have an opportunity to get a 12.5% credit up to 20% credit towards their eligible investment. And I wanted to talk to you today about the 5 or 6 categories for eligible investment. The first one's demo. You can see they're taking down buildings here. Demolition is pretty self-explanatory, but that's the first category. The second category is site improvements. This could be things like landscaping. You can see along the left there. This could be things like grading the site, making it level so that it can build on it, or even sheet pile walls, which is that top right picture. The third category is new construction, and this is a couple of examples around the state. This one here is probably the most familiar to folks in Lansing. It's the Stadium District loss over across from the ballpark. Building renovations is also a category. This is where we take an old building and renovate it. A great example is the Chrisman Company building right on Capitol. That's where they took an old building and it's a LEED certified. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? Yes. Familiar? Okay. And I think this is the fifth and final eligible investment category is the addition of personal property. So machinery and equipment and fixtures. You can see they have some office furniture here. You can see an assembly line, cafeteria. These are all different examples of eligible investment for personal property. And this, I'm just running through some quick slides on a site in Grand Rapids so you can see some before and after pictures of an example. And this really wraps up my presentation. If anyone has any questions, again, I'll be the main point of contact for the West region, and you can call me anytime. Thank you.